The views and opinions expressed on Explorers Secrets of the Truth or that of their guests or contributors are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. All information on Explorers Secrets of the Truth is provided in good faith. However, we make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of any information on this talk show or website.
From monsters and ghosts to otherworldly beings, join the explorers as they venture into the darkest realms, seeking the truth till it goes bump in the night.
Welcome back, folks, to another eerie episode of Explorers Seekers of the Truth, the podcast where we dig into the strange, the spooky, and the downright terrifying. I am Les, one of your hosts for the evening.
And I'm Chad, and tonight we're going to dive into goblins and their folklore and legends. We are going to be talking about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin.
You're stumbling with that one tonight, buddy.
Yeah. Incident and the Dover Demon. Plus, we'll talk a little about folklore associated with goblins.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And tonight we're going to look into the strange and mysterious world of goblins, as Chad had just said. As you have the ticker up there right now for everybody to see.
So we are going to start with the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter of August 21st, 1955. But first, Les, can you tell everyone where they can reach us?
Of course. It wouldn't be a show without this. You can reach us on, or watch us live on Facebook and YouTube, live every other Tuesday. And we also have our new Dead Air show that we pre-record. That usually goes live on a Saturday. So always keep your eyes peeled to our YouTube and Facebook pages, as these events will auto-populate. And you guys could click the... what do you call the notification button, so that way you could see it later. And as we are live on the main show, which is Tuesday nights, you guys could comment under the show. We could interact live throughout the show. We still want you guys to comment and interact during the Dead Air show that's pre-recorded, because either Chad or myself will be keeping an eye on the comments, and we'll get back to you guys as soon as we can. But during the live show, we should, in theory, as long as we don't have technical issues, we'll be able to see every comment that rolls in and comment live. You could find us also on X or Twitter at Explorers Group, our website, explorersgroup.com. And we are on all the major podcast providers. So whichever one you listen on, all we ask is give us a 5-star review on your podcast provider. Follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube, and like we said, comment throughout the show so we could interact with you guys. That's about it.
Thank you, Les. And now on to the legend. So Let's set the stage. It's August 21st of 1955, near the rural towns of Kelly and Hopkinsville in Kentucky. The Sutton family, being of 5 adults and 7 children, are hanging out in a small farmhouse when one of them, Billy Ray Taylor, steps outside to get some water from the well. And Billy Ray sees something, a metallic disc-shaped object streak across the sky, glowing with what he later described as all colors of the rainbow, before descending into a gully near the house.
That's right. And Billy Ray runs inside afterwards and tells everybody. Naturally, they think he's exaggerating, but that disbelief doesn't last long, because shortly after that, they see these strange little creatures approaching the house.
And here's where it gets wild. These beings are described as short, maybe 3 foot tall, with oversized head, large eyes, long arms, claw-like hands, and spindly legs. Their skin shined like silver under the moonlight. Oh, and they seem to float and not walk.
That is creepy. That part right there. So, in full Kentucky fashion, the response was immediately grab the guns, and rightly so. I mean, I'd do the same thing if I saw that and I had guns at the ready. The Suttons had a 12-gauge shotgun and a 22 rifle. The two adults, Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor, claimed they had been shooting. When one of the creatures appeared in a window, they shot it, and another popped up on the roof. They claimed to have nearly like a 4-hour-long attack using gunfire the whole time to hold them off.
Yes, so according to the family, they shot at these things for nearly 4 hours.
It's a long time.
That would make for a lot of ammo for one family to have had in their home. Even back in those days, that's a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
And every time they hit one, it either floated away unharmed or did a weird backflip and disappeared into the dark with no blood and no bodies found.
Wouldn't that be cool? You see it flipping through the dark like a carnival game or something.
Well, they described it as a weird backflip. Aren't all backflips kind of weird to start with? Like, it's not a normal thing somebody, well, they did a weird backflip. Like what's a normal backflip?
Right. I just picture at the carnival with those little things on the rod and you hit it and it spins.
Yeah.
Just going off into the darkness. Oh, that just made me laugh. But eventually on the evening of August 21st in 1955, the family fled to the Hopkinsville police station. They were visibly shaken, some hysterical. Local authorities concerned about a possible gun battle between local citizens, they took it seriously. They returned to the farmhouse with 4 city officers, 5 state troopers, 3 sheriff deputies, and even 4 military police from Fort Campbell. They found shell casings, broken windows, bullet holes, no creatures.
They forgot their partridge in a pear tree.
I know, right?
Yep. So there's no footprints, no blood, just a freaked out family, and a whole lot of questions. Now, of course, the story spreads quick, hitting the newspapers and radio, and people dub them the Hopkinsville Goblins. The Kentucky New Era, the first paper to report the incident, increased the number of creatures to 12 to 15, and that kind of continues to be the number that's most reported.
What number did the family give though? They didn't give a number, did they?
I think the family said there might have been like 7 of them.
Okay, so the newspaper
it wasn't a whole bunch. Yeah, they said they were shooting them. They would disappear into the darkness, and then another one would come
with the magnificent backflip.
Yeah. Why? Well, now here's the thing: if they shot them and they did backflips, when they came towards them, did they do front flips to introduce themselves? Like,
that's the question. That is definitely the question. So, well, here's a little food for thought, right? Several members of the family, ironically, were carnival workers who were visiting the farmhouse. So when the officers returned the next day, they found the house empty, and the neighbors informed them that the families had packed up, in quotes, and left, after claiming the creatures had returned again that night about 3:30 in the morning. Oh, hey, good evening, OS. Good to see you, buddy. He's coming in or commenting through Facebook. Thanks for joining, bud.
So that does bring up the interesting thing, and it's something that's really kind of current events in paranormal, cryptozoology. All this is showmanship versus a real life event.
Right.
So you do have this weird circumstance where members of the family are carnival workers.
Mm-hmm.
Does that lead them to give strange account because of things they witness? You know, I mean, this is the 50s yet, so you still have the traveling freak shows and all that.
Mhm.
And that's also, like they said, a weird backflip. So they would have been around like circus performers and stuff
Right.
like that, clowns and all that. So
Acrobats.
acrobats. So yeah, a weird backflip maybe for 1950s. Gymnastics wasn't as big of a thing nationwide, so backflips wouldn't have been necessarily a description that somebody from rural Kentucky might have even known
Yeah, yeah.
the terminology.
Or even a common thought to even put a hoax into somebody's mind. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it's interesting. It's a little bit of like, you have little details that would lead you to think like, this really could be just a showmanship type event to kind of hype up something.
Well, did they have a show in the area at the time? Because I mean, if the family was there, were they there because the circus was in town, or you know what I mean? Do they do this as a means to, hey, these guys are in the circus. Let's go to the circus and talk to them about this incident.
Now, see, that's something I've never thought of, or even, but it's a very interesting, point to it is, was this a way to sell the circus or the carnival they were traveling with? Like you just said, is it a way to sell it? So, it definitely does kind of give you that idea of, is it showmanship or is it a real life story, right?
Yeah, because I mean, they said that the family packed up and left, and they left the farm eventually, right? So maybe the farm was a bust. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, so stop me if this is a point that is further on. Did they pack up and leave because they were poor farmers and they didn't have anything else? This family relations are, oh, well, we're part of the circus. We're traveling. We're all over the place and we make money on the go. Why don't you guys come with us? We could use your help because they're handy or whatever. And that was just a way to kind of leave the property kind of debt free. You know what I mean? Oh, well, this incident happened. We can't stay there. It was this tragedy. So they just left. And then that was kind of the stain left on the property. Oh, well, nobody's going to want it. So the bank will just take it back or whatever, and they could just take off without any whatever, chase debt.
Let's keep moving in here, right? So the family claims receive widespread coverage in the local and national press. Now, early articles did not refer to little green men. The color was later added by some newspaper stories. They estimated the size of the alleged creatures to vary from 2 to 4 foot. So you're looking at 61 to 122 centimeters, because I have to throw that in every chance I get.
Certainly do.
And details such as the large pointy ears, claw-like hands, the eyes that glowed yellow, and the spindly legs only appear in later media coverage.
Okay. All right. So that kind of makes me think, because this is the 50s. This is the dawn of the Space Invader, what was the freaking War of the Worlds and all that, or what was the one where they came to the planet and they're how to serve men? They thought they were there to serve men, but it was actually like a cookbook, so you had all that going on.
Well, yes, this is the beginning of that, but notice again, this is, and I put up a scroll or a ticker that says fake news. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to want to kill me after this, but it's okay. I don't care. It just shows that media has always had a way to increase revenue.
Oh yeah.
I've worked in all forms of media. Like, anybody wants to argue with this with me, I've worked in newspaper, I've worked in television, and I've worked in radio.
Yes. We
will do stuff to sell stuff. Right. So here,
I know, I used to do the ads for you.
I know. That's why I used you. So the idea of little green men, if you remember, the family said these things were like silver.
Right. Right.
They glue like
Shiny.
silver in the moonlight. Yeah. So all of a sudden they become little green men. They have pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
The family really never described them as having ears, but all of a sudden they get pointy ears. The hands being claw-like was something the family had said, so that's kind of true. And the eyes glowing yellow and the spindly legs is stuff that it's like there's this really interesting story out here. Now, how do I get you to come back and buy my paper again tomorrow? Especially in areas not Hopkinsville or Kelly,
Right.
that this is going to be in the news for a week or two. Or, like the New York Times say picks up this story. Well, how do I keep you interested enough to buy tomorrow's New York Times? Oh, well, there's new details emerge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, person at the New York Times maybe never talked to anybody involved
Right.
at the New Era Kentuckian or whatever the newspaper was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just using big newspapers that I know were around back then.
Yeah.
So these little details get added or changed or enhanced. So they're constantly now selling it. Well, the radio is also, how do we keep this interesting for our fans? Oh, well, new detail of the look of the creature. Be on the lookout for a pointy-eared, 4 foot tall, little green man from Mars.
Right. Well, it's funny when we're talking about descriptions and stuff. So the skeptics have offered explanations of misidentified owls, right?
Mhm.
Raccoons, even monkeys escaped from the circus train. Again, we're going back to the circus, which, by the way, there's no solid evidence for any of that. Some blame moonshine, like they were all drunk. Others think it was all a hoax, but there's still the thing. The Suttons didn't want publicity. So that kind of contradicts the drawing attention to the circus thing. But I mean, it could all be part of the ruse. You know what I mean? It could all be all part of the hoax. They reportedly turned down offers for money and told people to leave them alone. So I don't know. I don't know what you can take from that,
Yeah. So it does kind of take away the showmanship end of it and, maybe makes it a little more of a real life event.
Yeah.
So the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry member and skeptic, Joe Nickel, noted the family could have misidentified eagle owls or a great horned owl, which are nocturnal. They fly silently. They have yellow eyes, and they will aggressively defend their nests. And according to Nichols, a meteor sighting also occurred at the time that could explain what Billy Ray Taylor claims that he saw, a bright streak of light across the sky that disappeared beyond the tree line some distance from the house.
Well, and author Brian Dunning noted that the height of the owls would be comparable to at least the lower end of the reported range of around 2 feet, 24 inches or 61 centimeters. There are simply too many similarities between the creatures reported by the families and an aggressive pair of local great horned owls, which to stand about 2/3 of a meter tall.
So going back to what we were talking about here with the idea of the family, right? And why they're doing, or was it showmanship or was it a real event, right? They got so tired of being mocked and pestered, they did return to the property.
Okay.
They left that night and they do return. And they had posted no trespassing signs, to the point where even with the no trespassing signs, they actually had to start charging people to come on the property. And this was done more as a deterrent than an actual business plan. I think what they were doing was setting the price so high for back then that it eliminated a lot of local looky-loos coming onto the property. So it was more or less a way to say, like, hey, maybe back then it was $500. Well, for $500, we'll let you walk around and we'll point to where things were and you can walk around.
Right.
Well, back then, $500 is like, say, I don't know what inflation would be to this day, but say like it would be like $5,000 for us to go look somebody's backyard where they claim to have seen little green men.
Right. So that's a very good deterrent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, UFO researchers actually still debate this one too. So some see it as one of the most credible close encounters ever, given the number of witnesses, of course. But others say that it's just a folktale that got way out of hand.
Mm-hmm. So interestingly, this event helped inspire a ton of pop culture, though,
Mm-hmm.
like the Greys in alien lore, and even the look of the Pokemon Sableye.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, I don't know Pokemon. And
That's one of the kids.
yeah, that I should have actually.
Yeah.
And it led to the annual Little Green Men Day festival in Kelly.
That's another one I'd like to go to.
Mm-hmm. And Steven Spielberg actually used the story as the base for his never produced follow-up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which would have been titled Night Skies.
Oh, that would have been great if he did that.
Oh, yeah.
I love Close Encounters. So I guess here's the question is what really happened that August night? So was it alien visitation? Was it mass hysteria? Or just a case of a barn owl being in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Well, whatever it was, the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter remains one of the most enduring and bizarre UFO stories in American history.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing is for sure, Project Blue Book listed the case as a hoax with no further comment.
Well, pretty much every Project Blue Book case is listed as a hoax or swamp gas.
Well, you do get into the even if it was reported as something, would they have actually allowed it to go into Project Blue Book's report that it was something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Project Blue Book, the TV show on the History Channel of Project Blue Book that you turned me on to, which anybody out there listening, if you have not seen the TV show Project Blue Book, find it. It was on the History Channel. Phenomenal series. I wish they wouldn't have stopped it because they really left it open-ended.
Yeah.
But that episode, I remember them. Wasn't there like glowing green blood or some shit that they were finding? And I remember them interviewing the carnival people, but that was just a real short part of the episode.
Yeah, I think that was kind of something that they had put out there, but there was some kind of glowing green goo.
Yeah. Oh, we're back to the goo again.
Again with the goo.
Yeah. And here's the question, because we've been using these or people have used these as scapegoats. Why owls? Why is it always an owl? You know, I don't understand why they always have to use an owl as the antagonist of these stories. Did I lose you?
No.
Okay, all right, okay. I just want to make sure that I didn't. You weren't frozen.
No, it's weird because owls do always get blamed in all these cases and all that, and it's quite odd. Like owls in mythology and stuff like that are knowledge bearers and stuff along those lines, and then
not normally the harbingers of doom.
Yeah, and then when you get to the more modern stories, every creature that somebody misidentifies as an owl, or the easiest is, well, it was an owl. It was a great horned owl. It was an eagle owl or Eurasian eagle owl. It's like, do you have a population of those in that area?
Yeah.
Like it's very easy for people to just throw that out there, especially the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and all that. They're going to give you the easiest solution, but yet is there a population of great horned owls in that area?
Yeah.
Are there eagle owls in that area? That 100%, if there are, then this could have possibly been this. But also, if you shoot an owl with a 12 gauge, at close range, the owl, yes, is going to do a weird backflip, but it's also not going to float away.
Right. And it's going to probably blow into a cloud of feathers because you're going to blow a hole in the damn thing.
Well, yeah, you hit an owl, you hit a bird with a gun, you're going to leave some trace of shooting it. Now, unless they were so drunk that they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Well, they said they hit it, right? And it did the funny
weird backflips
and
disappeared.
Now, the thing that I don't understand too, again, these people, obviously they've lived their whole lives. They're hunters. They're obviously some sort of an experienced outdoors person. They're going to know what kind of wildlife is around their property. They're going to be familiar with these animals, and the way they describe these things coming to them. An owl, I mean, they are silent. I mean, they are literally, you don't hear them flapping, but you would have seen them flapping. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you would have seen all these characteristics. It's not a, excuse me, it's not a silver shimmering, you know what I mean? Like, all these descriptions that they had with the skin, first of all, that it's not skin. I mean, I know some owls are, you know, like a snow owl is all white and stuff. So maybe in the moonlight, it looked silvery, shiny, but a snow owl wouldn't be down there in the summer, you know?
Well, even like snow owls have some black in them. You know, some of them do. So I hit and killed a snow owl once with my truck. I saw it. I clearly saw it was an owl and not a silver thing, you know, gliding through the air and doing a weird backflip, because it didn't do a backflip when I hit it. It just kind of rolled under the truck. It was horrible.
You legit hit a snow owl?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On my way to work one morning, leaving Sheets, I pull back out onto the main street, which is Ward's Road in Lynchburg. And I get to like basically the other exit for the Sheets. And out of the corner of my eye, I just see this thing come swooping down. And I hear this little thunk. And I look in my rearview mirror, and there's a snow owl smashed alongside the road.
Oh my! Only you would hit a snow owl. That the poor thing. That's funny. Now, see, Alicia says you couldn't, but clearly you can hit an owl with your truck. Oh my gosh! All right, so let's get back on topic here.
So
where we at?
Let's have you go and let everybody know one more time. And then you can tell us where we're heading next. But can you tell everybody where they can reach us?
Yes, for those just tuning in, you could find us live on YouTube and Facebook every other Tuesday night. Comment under the show, as some people have done tonight, and we will respond live. We are also doing a Saturday night show called Dead Air, which is a pre-recorded show, and they're short stories that Chad and I are putting together. Sometimes it'll be one of us, two of us, might be a special guest. Who knows? You never know. You just got to tune in and find out. So again, Facebook, YouTube, live. You can find us on X or Twitter at Explorers Group, at our website, explorersgroup.com. And we are on all the major, whatchamacallit, I just drew a blank. Podcasts. That's it. Podcast providers. All that we ask is, while you're listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen through. Follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube, and try and comment. It helps us with the algorithms. And that's all we ask, and that's all we got.
So where are we heading now?
We are going to I lost my place here. April 20, heading back to April 21st to the 22nd of 1977. Sorry, folks. I lost my place in the notes. To Dover, Massachusetts.
Oh, so we're going to talk about the Dover demon sightings.
There you go. Yes.
So Dover is a town about 15 miles or 24 kilometers southwest of downtown Boston.
Yeah, this one hits that kind of sweet spot. It's the small town weirdness, strange creatures, and teenage witnesses just trying to, get home. So let's set the scene, right? It's April 21st, 1977. 17-year-old Bill Barlett is driving along Farm Street around 10 o'clock at night. The road is dark, narrow, lined with woods and stone walls.
Bill sees something, though, perched on top of a crumbling wall. There's this thing, not an animal, not a person. He later describes it as being about 4 foot tall, with glowing orange eyes, long spindly limbs, and a big bald head shaped like a watermelon, with no mouth, no nose, just those glowing eyes staring at him.
Well, if that wasn't freaky enough, here's a freakier part. He swears it wasn't a trick of the headlights or his imagination. On his sketch, because yes, he drew it, he literally wrote, "I, Bill Barlett, swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw this creature," to just give a little bit more credibility to his testimony.
Well, that same night, just a few hours later, another teen, 15-year-old John Baxter, is walking along Miller Hill Road, which isn't far from where Bill had his encounter. He spots a figure in the distance. At first, he was thinking it was a person.
Okay.
But as he gets closer, he realizes it's wrong. It's got a small body, long limbs, oversized head, no clothes, just this pale, hairless, alien-like figure watching him from the edge of the woods.
Well, then the next night, April 22nd, a third sighting. Another 15-year-old, Abby Brabham, is being driven home along Springdale Avenue. She sees the creature crouched beside the road, along with those glowing eyes and a weird-shaped head.
So you have 3 separate witnesses, 3 very similar descriptions,
Yep.
and all but within 25 hours of each other. All teens, and get this, their sighting locations, when you plot them in a map, they form a straight line 2 miles long.
Well, now, none of them reported seeing a UFO, right? So there's no lights in the sky, no flying saucers, just one creepy otherworldly creature that nobody could explain.
Of course, now, once word gets out, about 2 weeks later, the media jumps on it. Local newspapers, UFO groups, and even the Mutual UFO Network get involved. One investigator even pointed out the creature's description was oddly similar to the beings in 1955 in Kelly Hopkinsville encounter. You remember that one, right? We just covered it.
Yeah. Yeah. So glowing eyes, clawed hands, floating movements. Except the Dover demon didn't seem hostile. It just watched, then vanished. Oh, and no backflips.
Well, the kids didn't try shooting.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
If you don't shoot them, they don't do the weird little backflip.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now, of course, some skeptics are saying it was a foal or a sickly monkey. Because we all know. Hey, I'm just reading what the skeptics say. Or a sickly monkey, because you know how many sickly monkeys we have outside of Boston.
Yeah, right.
Like 15 miles outside of Boston, you know, that big ape preserve out there.
Right.
It could even be an escaped exotic pet. But the drawing these teens make, they're eerily consistent with the long fingers, huge head, thin body, and it's not exactly, when you kind of picture all that put together, it's not exactly barnyard material, really.
No. That's why immediately, like when you said full, I'm like, no way. I don't know. But let's not forget that these weren't attention-hungry kids either. Barlett, in particular, didn't want the publicity. He was reluctant to even talk about it at first, and that makes it a little harder to write this off as like a hoax. But, you never know.
So what was it, though? Was it a misidentified animal, a shared hallucination, or something that passed through the town just for a moment and then vanishes without a trace.
I don't know, but whatever it was, the Dover Demon hasn't been seen since then. I mean, that was what, 77, so quite a few years, 40 plus years. But you know, its legend though still lurks in the woods of Massachusetts and in the back of our minds whenever we drive down a lonely road at night.
And like I just had said earlier, the creature has been suggested to have been a foal or a moose calf, right? So skeptic Joe Nickel believes the creature was likely, hold on, wait for it, wait for it, a snowy owl.
Oh, there we go.
Based on the size and plumage, which would have reflected the yellow headlights of an older car as a peach color described by Barlett. In addition, the long spindly arms and fingers of the supposed creature could partially opened wings and splayed feathers at the wingtips.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it was hit or something, you know, like, and it was like injured and just sitting there with its wings kind of open a little bit. I don't know. Those owls, poor owls. Well, the police told the Associated Press that creatures reported by the teenagers were probably nothing more than a school vacation hoax. Yeah, vaccination hoax. Yeah. Skeptic Ben Radford has suggested the sighting may have been influenced by the pop culture of the time, as 1977 was the year Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and so on and so forth were released.
There are two things in this strange world I can't stand.
And those are?
Owls getting blamed for everything.
And the other?
An explanation offered by Benjamin Radford.
What?
Small hand smells like cat.
That's good.
Yeah. Austin Powers reference from anybody who doesn't get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's classic.
Yeah. So Les has been dying to cover this one. Probably because he suspects his kitchen is haunted by one.
There's something stealing my cereal. And I don't know. It's not the dog because she's scared of whatever's in the pantry.
Or you're sleep eating again.
No, it's goblins, man. Yeah, I can feel it in my gut. And it's not just the cereal.
Well, good news, you're not alone. Stories about goblins go back hundreds of years. They've popped up in folklore all over Europe, especially in the British Isles, France, and Germany. But they're not always the same kind of creature.
So there's like, I guess, different goblin breeds like Pokemon.
Sort of. The word goblin probably comes from the Greek goblus, meaning rogue or trickster, which evolved through Latin and French into goblin, and eventually became goblin in English.
So even the name says they're little punks.
Exactly. They're usually described as small, between 2 to 4 feet tall, with ugly features, sharp teeth, big pointy ears, and some green or gray skin. But their behavior is where things get interesting.
Let me guess. Stealing food, breaking stuff, whispering your name at night.
All of the above.
I figured.
Now, some goblins are pure chaos, mischievous little gremlins that live to torment humans. Others are more neutral, like the hobgoblins of English folklore. Those guys might sweep your floor or fix your tools if you treat them right.
So, hold up. Some goblins help you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but if you cross them or forget to leave them a snack or an offering, they turn nasty.
Okay.
Broken dishes, you're missing socks, cold spots in your house.
It's like the supernatural version of his cranky roommate.
Pretty much.
There you go.
In Germany, though, you've got the GOBLINS, the mind-dwelling spirits. They could guide miners to gold or lead them to their deaths.
It So they're like the goblin OSHA violations.
Well, that's one way to put it. Then there's the French folklore, where goblins were said to haunt old buildings or forests. Some even guarded treasures, kind of like a dragon would have, but without the fire breathing, of course.
Okay, so basically, if something weird's going on, and it's small, ugly, and smirking, it might be a goblin.
It's pretty fair rule of thumb.
Do goblins have any weaknesses? Asking for home protection reasons.
Well, of course, I'm telling you, it's not a goblin that's eating your cereal, but
It's me.
so classic folklore says iron messes with them.
Okay.
Some go for salt and some go for sunlight.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of old European creatures, fairies, spirits, goblins, all for some reason hate iron.
Mm-hmm. Sunlight, though, is usually trolls. Just turns them to stone.
Well, you would know.
Yeah, that's, I should sleep with a cast iron skillet and a salt shaker with all the goblin activity in my house.
Oh, couldn't hurt.
Right. So, all right. What about like in modern stories? I feel like goblins show up in fantasy stuff all the time.
Well, they do. You're a big fan of a lot of that weirdo, Dungeons and Dragons and Harry Potter and the Hobbit and all those Lord of the Rings things. So Tolkien's The Hobbit had goblins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though he later called them orcs. In Dungeons and Dragons, they are the classic low-level enemies, kind of tribal, sneaky, usually up to no good. And in Harry Potter, goblins actually run the... What kind of bank is that, Les?
Gringotts Bank.
Gringotts Bank. Still small, grumpy, but smart and powerful at the same time.
Oh yeah, those guys were no joke. I mean, you mess with their gold, and boom, you're in a vault chase with a dragon.
I guess exactly. I mean, I've seen like a couple of the Harry Potter movies. I'm not exactly a aficionado of the Harry Potter.
You need to be a Potterhead, because those movies, the books, I mean, were in further detail, but the movies are phenomenal.
I think the day you start reading the books I read, I'll start reading the books you read.
Deal.
So the modern view tends to split goblins kind of into two categories: the mindless cannon fodder or the cunning gold-obsessed schemers.
Kind of like leprechauns, right?
Yeah, well, I guess leprechauns would kind of be a goblin.
Kind of. Yeah, just an Irish one,
Mm-hmm.
So they'll either stab you in the ankle, right? Or rob your bank account. You have those two options.
Yep. But the original folklore is way weirder and even somewhat more unpredictable.
Okay.
Because goblins weren't just bad guys. They were kind of a wild card. Some helped, some harmed, some did both, all before breakfast.
So the moral of the story?
Respect the little things. Don't take weird noises in the attic for granted.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, leave out a bowl of milk in case.
Unless you're lactose intolerant, then I guess you're on your own.
Yeah, well, on that note, if you've got goblin stories, strange house happenings, or cryptic creatures living in your crawl space, we'd like to hear about them.
That's right. Well, it's funny that you say about them living in the crawl space, because you know who Brian Froud is, right? Artist. He drew pretty much any picture that you see online goblin related was Brian Froud. His artwork was the inspiration for the goblins in the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, Jim Henson movie.
Okay.
Yeah, his artwork, dude, is phenomenal. And his wife, I think her name is Linda Froud. She makes sculptures of these goblins, and dude, they are phenomenal. Froud's artwork is just like awe-inspiring. but he wrote books like on good fairies, bad fairies, goblins, and the books are really, really cool because there's like notes on how to like rid your house of goblins and what all the different goblin classifications and species and all that stuff. I have pretty much all of them, and I always, when the girls were little, I would always say about, oh, these are the goblin books, and don't, like, even the thing is like, don't open this book, and if there's a like a little fake letter inside, and like if you break the letter, then you release the goblins and all this stuff. And when you go into our basement, on the side of the staircase coming down, there's a really small door. It's like maybe 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. And you open it up and it goes underneath the staircase. And my kids are always like, what is that? What is that? And up in the attic, there's crawl spaces on either side with small doors. And they're like, why do we have all these small doors in our houses? And then even in Lily's room, there's a small door that goes into the back of all the plumbing and stuff for the shower. Mm-hmm. And when the kids were little, I would always say, oh, well, those are the goblin doors. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, that's where the goblins live. And I said, and they're like, what, is that real? Is there really goblins? I'm like, yeah, they come out at night. I'm like, if you ever hear anything or if anything goes missing or whatever, I said, it's the goblins. And I said, I bet you if you look in those doors, you'll find it. And they're always like, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there. And they're like, how do we keep the goblins out? And I had like this essential oil or something like that. I'm like, well, you put this on the doorknobs so they can't come in, but you have to do it every so often because the oil wears off. And if you don't, I just saw the lights turn on outside, and it's my wife getting into her car. I'm like, what the hell was that?
She's finally leaving you?
Yes. She finally wised up. But I would say, if you put this oil on the doorknobs, it'll prevent the goblins from coming out, and, we'll be safe. And sometimes we'll drip the oil on light bulbs so it would, because it's like incense, you know what I mean? And it would just kind of burn off the heat of the light bulb. And I'm like, you got to put it on the light bulb so it permeates the room, and the goblins, they don't like that smell, so they won't come out. And I made a whole big thing out of it, and I think they still believe me that there's goblins in the house, because we'd go through the book and I teach them all about the different goblins and everything. It was, something fun. Probably traumatized them, but
I was going to say, when they're later in therapy, I'm just going to refer the therapist to the end of this episode and just be like, here, this
is it. This is why these kids are messed up.
That's why my nieces are in your office 5 times a week.
That's funny because Lily, I mean, God love her. She, she's 14 now. And it wasn't that long ago. She was like, Daddy, I saw something out in the hallway. It was this little thing and blah, 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 blah. She's like, it's like a goblin. I'm like, yeah, you never know. You don't know what it could be. It's in the middle of the night. Like, did you put the oil out? Did
you ask her, have you been oiling the doors?
Yeah. Like, did you oil the door? Because if you didn't, they're going to come out. Oh, I didn't. I love it.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that's pretty much all we have for tonight's episode. So, as we always say, send us your tales at explorerspod@deadair.com. Or hit us up on all the socials. You could message us directly in Facebook or YouTube. And don't forget to rate and review, as we always say. And it keeps help the goblins at bay. It helps keep the goblins at bay, if I could talk.
Yeah, you just read an email address that doesn't exist, but okay. Don't use explorerspod@deadair.com, please.
Oh, we've not set up yet. That's right.
Yeah, we haven't set any of that up yet.
Sorry.
You can use Explorers Seekers of the Truth @gmail.com.
Yeah, no, the other one doesn't work either.
Okay, yeah. The Gmail one I check every day. So
okay, yeah. The Gmail one for sure. The Explorers group, or what was it? Explorers@explorersgroup.com. I can't remember what the hell the email even was anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever one we used to use in the past, don't use it anymore because there's some kind of a technical issue with that, and I am working with GoDaddy to try and fix it. So just go to the social media accounts, Facebook or YouTube.
Be the easiest way, YouTube, Facebook.
Yeah.
If you really need to send us something via email, like I said, it's Explorers Seekers of the Truth at Gmail. It's all spelled out. Send it there. Send it to Facebook, YouTube, X. So next time on Explorers Secrets of the Truth, we're heading into the foggy backlots of Hollywood to hunt for the truth about what the Conjuring universe is really about.
Well, I'm bringing snacks. So like, share, and follow us to keep up to date with all the happenings around the Explorers Seekers of the Truth universe.
Good plan.
All right.
Good night.
That's right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks, whatever date that will be. And don't forget the Saturdays for the Dead Air. Keep your eyes on Facebook and YouTube, and just hit the notification so you can follow us on that. Good night, everybody.
Good night.